Hello, everybody. My name is Tiara White, and this is my speech on the Impressionist period. A little bit of general background information. Impressionism was a major movement, first in painting and later in music, that developed primarily in France during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The most noticeable characteristic of Impressionism in music was to convey an idea or effect through a wash of sound rather than a strict formal structure. Impressionism in music was a style initiated by French composer Claude Debussy at the time of the 19th century. The term, which is somewhat vague in reference to music, was introduced with a contemporary French painting. It was disliked by Debussy himself. Elements often termed impressionistic include stationary harmony, emphasis on instrumental tones that creates a shimmering interplay of melodies that lack direct motion, surface garnishing that substitutes for melody, and an avoidance of traditional music form. Impressionism can be seen as a reaction against the rhetoric of Romanticism, disrupting the forward motion of standard harmonic progressions. The other composer most often associated with Impressionism is Marcel Ravel. A little bit of music background information. Impressionism in music was a movement among various composers in Western classical music, whose music focuses on mood and atmosphere, conveying the moods and emotions aroused by the subject rather than a detailed tone picture. Composers were labeled Impressionists by analogy to the Impressionist painters who used darkly contrasting colors, effective light on an object, blurry foreground and background, and flattening perspective to make the observer focus their attention on the overall impression. The most prominent feature in musical impressionism is the use of color, which can be achieved through orchestration, harmonic uses, and texture. Other elements of musical impression also involve new chord combinations, ambiguous tonality, extended harmonies, and the use of modes. One of the most important tools of musical impressionism was the tensionless harmony. The conflict of chords was not resolved but was used as quality of sound. These chords were often shifted parallel. In the musical field, the whole tone scale, the church tonal turns, were used. The melodies were characterized by their circular melodic movements. The sound became the stylistic device of Impressionism instead of concise themes or other traditional forms. The first song that I chose was by Claude Debussy, Nocturnes, also known as Troyes Nocturnes or Three Nocturnes. It is an impressionist orchestral composition in three movements by the French composer Claude Debussy, who wrote it between 1892 and 1899. It is based on poems, and I chose this particular video because to me it is the best one I've heard. The video was extra sharp and clear. The sound was excellent. The cameraman, I thought, did an excellent job of highlighting every player and singer. I enjoyed specifically the little girls as they sang. It just makes me think their parents would be proud to see that. And Mr. Miko Frank was a good example of what a fine looking conductor should look like. Very clean cut. It's always interesting to me to see the musicians animated and into the music. The second video I chose was by Maurice Ravel, and it is titled La Valse. La Valse is a choreographed poem for orchestra. It is a work written by Maurice Ravel between February 1919 and 1920. It was first performed on December 12, 1920 in Paris. It was conceived as a ballad, but is now more often heard as concert work. The work has been described as a tribute to the waltz. Ravel himself, however, denied that it is a reflection of post war Europe, saying, while some discover an attempt at mockery, indeed fake, others definitely see a tragic allusion in it. The end of the Second Empire, the situation in Venice after the war. This stance may seem tragic, like any other emotion, pushed to the extreme, but one should only see it in what the music expresses, an ascending progression of fullness to which the stage comes alone to add light and movement. He also commented in 1922 that it doesn't have anything to do with the present situation in Vienna, and it also doesn't have any symbolic meaning in that regard. In the course of La Valse, I did not envision a dance of death or a struggle between life and death. I chose this piece of music because I love the indescribable atmosphere of this piece and its mixture of beauty and eeriness. I feel Ravel's genius in the way he maintains harmony at the end of this piece just before it collapses. I have listened to several performances, but I think that the Mung Wan's conducting brings out the best characteristics of this particular piece. To compare, both musical impressionism is often thought to refer to refined delicateness and vague mood music, and I believe that both of my song choices are a good example of this. Technically, these characteristics often result from a static use of harmony, vague tone, and lack of sharp formal contrast. Although Impressionism has been considered a movement away from the excessive of Romanticism, these pieces show the listener how to properly convey Impressionism. To contrast, both songs are by different artists with different perspectives and use large orchestras to represent the mood and colors using the different styles. Claude Debussy was introduced first in the Impressionist music and set an example for other scholars like Maurice Ravel to lay down his masterpiece. Debussy sets a clearer sound of rhythmic orchestra, and Ravel has a mix of beauty and eeriness in his performance.